Witnesses said a man killed by ICE in Houston did not ram a vehicle into officers. That's where we're starting the 7 from the Washington Post. I'm Hannah Jewell. It's Friday, July 10th. Let's get you caught up with today's 7 stories. Lorenzo Salgado Araujo was killed on Tuesday during an immigration enforcement operation in Houston. The Department of Homeland Security released a statement in the hours after the shooting, saying he had rammed an ICE vehicle and attempted to run over an officer. But 3 migrants who were arrested during the same operation tell a very different story. The 3 men spoke to an attorney while in detention who shared their written and oral accounts with the Post. The men said a federal officer fired at them almost immediately after exiting his vehicle, and that at no point did Salgado Araujo veer in his direction. The lawyer said he heard the same story from each man, and that, quote, all of them reiterated that there were never any ICE agents in front of the van. The 3 men were interviewed separately and are being housed apart. Texas Democrat Christian Menefee represents Texas's 18th congressional district, based in Houston. He spoke to MS Now and said he doesn't expect ICE or the Department of Homeland Security to conduct a full and transparent investigation.
At some point, we're all going to have to ask ourselves, is the Trump administration trying to get to the truth, or they're trying to demonize, harm, and murder immigrant communities across this country in order to score political points and hopefully do well in elections? I think it's disgusting. I think what the president has done with ICE is an absolute travesty, and I want them to get the hell out of my city.
This incident has sparked fresh anger in one of the nation's largest cities over the Trump administration's deportation campaign. President Donald Trump has turned to a lesser-known group of lawyers to represent him. That's our second story. After burning through a list of big-name attorneys whose advice he often rejected, Trump now has a group of civil litigators as his personal lawyers. According to a Trump advisor who spoke to the Post, these lawyers have one key strength in Trump's eyes. That's the fact that they're willing to make arguments that other lawyers might not. They have taken unusual steps for a sitting president, including suing journalists and litigating against the government he leads. In some cases, lawyers who have worked for or are answerable to Trump have represented both sides of an argument. The central figure in this group, according to people in the know, is Boris Epshteyn. Trump was advised to fire him during the 2024 transition because of allegations that Epshteyn tried to use his closeness to Trump to enrich himself. Instead, Epshteyn is now leading the president's personal legal team. Number 3. Democrats are seeking a way forward after Graham Plattner dropped out of the Maine Senate race. Since Plattner dropped out on Wednesday, leaders of Maine's Democratic Party have been trying to figure out how to replace him without angering his supporters. The process to select a new nominee must be completed by July 27th under state law. State leaders met to consider a range of plans for holding a nominating convention. One of the key hang-ups, though, is how to elect the delegates who vote on the new candidate in a representative way. Meanwhile, several candidates who quickly threw their hat in the ring to replace Plattner told the Post they would not accept his endorsement. Some former supporters say they were alienated by the 11-minute grievance-filled video that Plattner shared when he dropped out. Adam Green is the head of a progressive group that supported Plattner until this week. He said this on CNN.
That video really made no one proud except for probably Graham Plattner. It was quite unfortunate. I don't think his campaign team even supported him putting that type of video out.
Plattner dropped out after a string of scandals, including accusations of sexual assault. Number 4. President Trump's proposed triumphal arch cleared another key hurdle. Yesterday, a federal commission advanced Trump's plan to build a triumphal arch in Washington, D.C., near Arlington National Cemetery. The National Capital Planning Commission voted 8-1 in favor. Commissioners who represent the Trump administration and congressional Republicans all voted in favor of the arch, while one commissioner who represents Washington voted against it. The committee tabled the question of the arch's planned height for later. The vote came after the panel heard nearly 3 hours of public opposition. Architects, Washington residents, military veterans, and the parents of soldiers buried in Arlington National Cemetery were among those who expressed their criticism of the project. This vote was not a final approval for the controversial arch, but it was a key logistical hurdle. This year's El Nino is forecast to get extreme. That's our 5th story. El Nino has already been having an impact. For a month, the weather pattern has brought record warmth to the central equatorial Pacific Ocean. And temperatures are forecast to continue on a record trajectory for the rest of the year and even into 2027. There's more than an 80% chance that next year will become the warmest on record. Through July to September, the central and eastern U.S. may experience especially unusual warmth compared to what is normal, and Central America is also at risk of extremely dry conditions. In western states, meanwhile, the danger will be extremely wet weather, which could lead to flooding. For a more detailed forecast, check out the Post's new El Nino tracker. We'll be updating it as the risk changes over time. Find a link to it in today's 7 newsletter. Number 6. We don't know which food is spreading a parasite that is sickening thousands. The parasite is called Cyclospora. It contaminates fresh produce and can cause days of diarrhea, as well as abdominal cramping, nausea, and low-grade fevers. More than 2,000 Americans in 21 states have been sickened by it so far in this outbreak. In Michigan, the number of recorded cases is far higher than usual. But it's difficult to find the food source that is spreading the parasite. That's partly because it can take a while for the parasite to cause symptoms, and most people don't remember everything they've eaten in the past 2 weeks. To avoid getting ill yourself, you should follow the usual hygiene rules. Wash your hands with soap and water before and after you handle or prepare raw fruits or vegetables. And health officials say you should wash all your produce thoroughly with a produce brush. And at number 7, there's a new tourist trap in Rome, and it's dividing locals. Near ancient ruins and charming piazzas across the city's historic center, restaurants have turned to something novel to draw in customers. In more and more restaurant windows, you can now find nonnas making fresh pasta. The trend is attracting tourists who see it as a sign of authenticity and fresh, tasty ingredients. But locals say it's all wrong. For one thing, Roman cuisine is actually rooted in dry pasta. Apparently, freshly made pasta isn't always a sign of superior quality. That comes down to the ingredients. Post-travel reporter Natalie Compton found the same when she visited one of these restaurants and ordered cacio e pepe. She said she's had better, but also worse, and described her meal as highly peppery, a little funky, and pleasantly chewy. So if you're visiting Rome this summer, take care you don't get too entranced by a nonna in a window. That's the show for this week. The staff writers of The 7 are Jamie Ross, Izan Akabau, and me. Rennie Svirnovsky is our producer. Special thanks to Ashley Wilson, Kat Struhar, and Laura Gutierrez. John Taylor is our editor. Copy editing by Rebecca Branford and Brian Molassix. Mixing and sound design is by Jim Briggs and Justin Garish. Our theme music is by Edith Mudge. I'm Hannah Jewell. Thanks for listening and have a great weekend. I'll meet you back here on Monday.